Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Okay, sorry, give me just a second. How this mic turns the right way. Okay. Please join me in hymn number 347 in your gray hymnal.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sahir Kool, your president of the Board of Trustees here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Our goal is to create a lively, beloved community where kindness, support, and joy flourish, no matter our diverse backgrounds. We are a welcoming congregation where each of us is wholeheartedly embraced, just as we each are. If you're visiting us for the first time, we cannot wait to meet you and share the fun things happening here. You will find a visitor card in a pocket of the chair in front of you. Please grab one, fill it out, and place it in the offering plate during the service. We would love to connect with you. There's so much happening here, so don't forget to check out your Connect at the back of your bulletin for all the exciting ways you can get involved. Here are a few highlights this morning. Our annual fund drive for our new church year starting in July is rolling along wonderfully. We're super excited for your support. This year, we're aiming to raise $260,000 from 120 households. This will keep our community thriving and ready to spread joy in the coming year. With each intent to give commitment, we will add leaves to our beautiful tree in the sanctuary, showcasing our generosity blooming together. Please don't forget to turn in your intent of giving. You can simply fill out an intent of giving card, or you can share your intent online. Check out your back of your Connect in today's bulletin for a form to fill out. It's all about teamwork. Every little bit helps to power our incredible ministries. At this time, we have gathered a total of $208,369 from 106 households. This is an amazing progress. Thank you. Now, speaking of getting involved, if you have been thinking about making it official to become a member of our community, or if you're simply curious about the UU movement and our congregation, we just have the opportunity for you. Our Path to Membership class is perfect for you. Join us today at 12:30 in Wild Hall for an informative and fun session. We will have lunch and childcare to make it easy for you. Join us whether you have signed up or not. Please plan on celebrating Ostera on Wednesday, March 19th at 7 p.m. with us on the back lawn of the church, weather permitting. We will celebrate a full circle of earth-based rituals. This will be a weekend ceremony for all to enjoy. Please come. At this time, I would like to invite Tracy Stapleton and Virginia McLean to come forward and provide us with a brief overview of the projects they are currently leading.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Tracy Stapleton. Janice Tuck, who couldn't be here today, and I serve the UUCS as co-chairs of the Leadership Development Committee, along with Dave Drum, Chris Christiniak, and Cynthia Lanier. And one of our committee's goals is to identify members of our congregation to fill leadership positions. In May, several of our leaders will complete their tenure in their current positions, and we're looking for some new faces, new energy, and new points of view. These open positions can be seen in your order of service at the back. There's a page titled Open Elected Positions, and this will give you an idea of what the responsibilities for those positions will be. We also have a newly anointed bulletin board in the fellowship hall that has a lot of information about what committees we have, what our elected positions are, and what their responsibilities are. So you'll find a short summary in the order of service. And if you're interested or just curious after the service, please join us by that leadership bulletin board. for more information from Leadership Development Committee members and past and present holders of those positions. Thanks a lot.
Good morning. I'd like everybody to turn to the back page of their order of service. What do you see here? Fire. What words do you? Blaze. How many of you feel like maybe things around you feel like a dumpster fire? Would you like it to feel more like a campfire? Then I invite you to our congregational retreat happening on April 25th, 26th, and 27th at the mountain. The congregational retreat is a time to get away. Retreat means to withdraw from or to be in a place alone, away from it all, to refresh your spirit and renew your spirit together as a congregation, as a whole UUCS family. So as you see, our theme here is Blaze, and we will be focusing on ways that we can turn that dumpster fire feeling into more of a feeling, more of a bonfire where we all gather. We will have time for intentional conversations. We will have activities for children. We will have activities for family as a whole, the UUCS family. We will also have time for rest and relaxation. Retreats and camping is one of the things that really transformed my own personal faith as a young person and growing up, and still does. So I am very excited to be helping with the retreat this year, and I hope that you will join us as well. Sign up by March 31st. And we do not want money to be a barrier. So if you need scholarship or some sort of help financially, please see myself, Ann, or Scott. We want everyone to attend who needs to attend, wants to attend, and knows that this will be a good time to renew your spirit. If you have any questions, please email me. I would say find me after the service, but I need to be in 2 places at once, and I'm not sure yet how I'm going to do it. So email me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Good morning. Mary Underwood, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Welcome to all of you. It's lovely to see so many bright faces today. For our lighting of the chalice, I'm going to read from Myrtle Williams and Her Friends from the book North of Maine, Spartanburg's Historic Black Neighborhoods of North Dean Street, Gas Bottom, and the Back of the College. The breakthrough moment for the civil rights movement in Spartanburg occurred in the summer of 1960, soon after 20-year-old Myrtle L. Williams came home from college to spend the summer with her parents. Then a sophomore at the historically black Hampton Institute in Virginia, she had been an eyewitness to the birth of nonviolent activism. On February 10, 1960, 9 days after the first lunch counter sit-in in Greensboro, North Carolina, students at Hampton Institute had initiated the first lunch counter sit-in in the state of Virginia. By the end of the month, some 600 Hampton students were participating in mass demonstrations, and the protests spread throughout coastal Virginia. Williams grew up in a home where civil rights were at the forefront. For more than 2 decades, her father, Julius Arischel Williams had led voting right efforts in Spartanburg, as well as discussions with local white leaders about fair pay for black workers. Lunch counter protests were breaking out all over South Carolina in the summer of 1960 as Myrtle Williams waited to go back to college. On July 25th, Spartanburg City Council passed an ordinance making it a misdemeanor for a person to stay in an establishment after an employee requested that he or she leave. Inspired by other protests taking place that week in other parts of South Carolina, Myrtle Williams and her young friends jumped into action the next day. "I didn't want her to do it," her father recalled. "It wasn't that I was opposed to what she did. I was just afraid of what could happen." Julius Williams had a keen memory of how lunch counter segregation ended in Spartanburg. One day, Chamber President Tukey called him to report that 24 of the city's 28 restaurants had agreed to simultaneously begin allowing black citizens to be seated and served. That was June 5th, 1963. Julius Williams was among those who were served. "I must have eaten 3 or 4 dinners that day," he recalled, because places would call and say no blacks had been there. To make sure we kept what we had gained, I and some others went and ate. And now it's time for one of our most sacred rituals, our rippling bowl. Our rippling bowl is a body of water up here at the front, surrounded by stones and shells, from which we can come and choose to place within our sorrows, our joys, our hopes, our wishes, anything that we need to bring into the love and care of this community. I've already described the bowl today as divine in both the that word went away. The expletive of wonderful, but also very spiritual. And it is. Please, as you're willing and desire, come and bring over to this community whatever you wish to share with them. If for whatever reason you do not come forward or you are virtual, please know that all you need to do is send your intention, and we also care for you and whatever it is you wish for us to carry.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
We are not a church or community that has a dogma or a creed that we must follow that comes from on high. Instead, we are a community that chose to look into our own hearts and create the promise that resonated from deep within us, which is our covenant that we reaffirm every week to ourselves, to one another, and to the world at large. Please join me. With courage, we say, we are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. And now, is the time where we greet one another. For some of us, like me, it's one of our favorite parts of the service. For some others, it might be the most anxiety-provoking part of the service. But wherever you are, please stand in your heart. That can be from a distance with a nice wave or a boisterous hug, whatever is true to you. Let yourself feel the love and connection in this room and allow it to strengthen you and embolden you and comfort you. Oh, and come back when the music starts. I love the way we take an opportunity every Sunday to practice civil disobedience. So now is the time where we share our gifts, our material gifts in this moment. Although this is a place that is so gifted and a place where people seem to feel inspired to bring whatever gifts it is that they have into this place to enrich it and to make it thrive. And like all places in our current world, we do need money and material means in order to support and strengthen and keep this congregation alive and thriving. Please share as you are able. This month, our Share the Plate is with an organization that we have that we have supported historically. I'm not going to butcher a language I can't say and just say what was formerly pesos. An organization of women supporting women who are very vulnerable currently and who need our support to support one another. Half of all loose gifts and all gifts that are intentionally marked for Share the Plate will go to support them. And the rest will go to support the beating heart of this congregation. Thank you.
Far beyond the grasp of hands, or light to meet the eye, past the reaches of the mind, there find a key to nature's harmony in an architecture so entwined. Like the birds whose patterns grace the sky and carry all who join in love expanding, the message of peace will rise in flight, taking the weight of the world upon its wings. In the oneness of everything, peace is in the dance of trees that stir before the first breath of wind is yet perceived. Trust in the song becoming one with the dance, and all mysteries can be believed. Songs of lives long past that touch our own are written in the earth, ever giving. And now to maintain the harmony gives to us all lives worth living. For the oneness of everything. Still we seek to find a truth that we might understand and reduce to terms define. Vast and immeasurable time and space, also overwhelmingly designed. Oh, passing years, just might I know the faith that winters in the heart, to be reborn in spring, to hear and to feel the pulse of life enters my soul as a song to sing of the oneness of everything.
One of the things that music shows us is teamwork, the power of working together. You know that adage about the U.S. Postal Service, neither wind nor snow nor rain could stop the mail. This month, our musicians have dealt with flu, windstorms, deluges of rain in their mountain homes, down power lines, down trees, the general frustration of working with people different than you are, and daylight savings time, all to pull together what they've shared with us not just today, but all month. It's a very human, imperfect effort, but we are the beneficiaries of it, and I think they deserve our appreciation. Let's show it to them. Some of them are so demure that they've hidden themselves amongst you in the congregation, and yet they have done a Herculean work. Thank you all. Share silence with me. Leaders build up leaders. It's a kind of leadership that on the surface seems really foolish, because it looks at the work to be done and those with whom it needs to be done. And rather than simply directing people in what to do, asserting a view of what needs to be achieved, this form of leadership looks at what people bring to the task and summons those people to share what they bring for the work of the team. Everyone striving together. This is foolish because when you do this, you are guaranteed to not get your way. Whatever idea you've brought, whatever vision you have conceived, whatever research and training and schooling you may have, even for years or decades, it's not going to be that. Because this form of leadership is inviting other people to also bring all of that background that they have and to work it into yours so that what you have brought will never recover. There's another kind of leadership that on the surface seems very strong. It asserts its executive privilege. It has a goal, a vision, and it does not hesitate to make very clear what you or I need to do to achieve that vision. This is powerful. It is. It often proclaims itself to be efficient. This form of leadership is really good in an emergency, when you've got to act and people need to be aligned to do something to stop a crisis. But in the day-to-day course of life and the year-to-year construction of community and the decade-to-decade and century-to-century work of building a society, this is actually a very brittle form of leadership. Because as soon as somebody else is leader, a whole new thing comes crashing in. The strength of that shared leadership, of that leadership that invites other leaders forward, as frustrating and slow as it may be on the front end, is that it looks at the world, all the people in it and what we're trying to construct on whatever scale, home, congregation, city, society, whatever it may be. And it perceives that in a diversity of people and gifts, there is remarkable resourcefulness and strength beyond what any individual brings and what any individual can marshal. What I can require of you is far less than what you will freely give of yourself. And that diversity of strengths brings with it the frustrations of other perspectives, but also the power of equitable thinking, of thinking about what everybody needs in the equation so that everybody can get what they need, whatever it all is, not the same for everyone, but what each will most benefit from in order to thrive. And that diversity of gifts creating an equity of experience together builds a more inclusive society. It just sounds like a great formula, this diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because it is for us all. Not about one perspective dominating another, but of doing the frustrating work of finding each other so that we can all make it. And more than make it, we can all thrive. And more than all thrive, all give freely of what we have for our own benefit and that of everyone else. Imagine a pianist and a violinist and a conductor and a choir, all with gifts, struggling to find each other and to coordinate. The great temptation for one to turn to the others and say, everybody just shut up and listen to me. Do what I tell you to do. But when they do that slow work of finding each other and share their gifts in abundance with each other, far greater the beauty for us all. Myrtle Williams was 20 years old when she stepped forward as a leader. You can read an excerpt of her story in the bulletin as I relate it here, and there's even more in the beautiful book that we're referencing last month in this, North of Maine, which I urge you to buy and bring on March 30th, because one of the authors, Brenda Lee Price, who graced us with her presence last week, will be here again to speak with us. So I urge you to bring your book for her to sign or to purchase books when she's here. Myrtle Williams was a 20-year-old college student, a black woman in the segregated South, person who received messages all the time, that as a person who was black and as a person who was a woman, leadership was not her work in life. And she saw other students walk into restaurants and sit at lunch counters and challenge the dominant narrative and the laws of their day to claim a space of diversity and equity and inclusion. Not some big ideology, but just I have a right to sit and eat where I can sit and eat. And you have a right to take my money when I buy my meal. And me sharing my money with you, when you share food and space with me, will make for mutual thriving for us both. She saw the power of this movement as it spread rapidly across campuses. And during the summer of 1960, when she was home, she recalled the lessons of her upbringing. Her parents had been leaders in the black community, advocating for civil rights, since they first moved to Spartanburg from rural parts of South Carolina about a decade before. Her father was a highly regarded insurance salesman, working for the leading insurance company for black people in the United States at that time. And he had done a lot of work to advance this community towards integration. Voting rights is one of our 5 social justice focuses, and he had done a ton of work on voting rights in this community. When he first came to Spartanburg and went to the polls, he found that he and others were turned away by poll workers who said they could not find their names on the polls. Until finally one white woman said, "Give me that list. Here they are." And she pulled back the curtain for them to go in and vote. And yes, those of you who do voter registration and poll working, you are part of that legacy. You absolutely are. Make no mistake. And through his work in the business community, he had painstakingly developed a relationship with the president of the Chamber of Commerce during that time, trying to develop an awareness of what the black community needed and what the Chamber of Commerce could do to advance that, slowly doing the work of relationship building, which is absolutely the way to progress in this work. And then in 1960, his daughter came back to town. And she looked at what was going on, and she decided, I'm going to do that too. Julius Williams had spent more than a decade trying to pave the way for civil rights in Spartanburg. And suddenly, his daughter was about to rush way ahead of the road that he had built. He said, I wasn't against what she wanted to do, but I was terrified for her and terrified of what I would do if anybody laid a hand on her. We can recognize that feeling. But she did it. She called on 4 black men to join her. And one day they went into a Woolworth's, sat down at the lunch counter for 2 hours, and they weren't served. You look at the front of your bulletin, you can see her picture, along with these 3 guys who she called forth into leadership. For somebody who has received the message her whole life that as a person who is black and a person who is a woman, she is not meant to lead, she sure as hell looks like a leader in that picture to me. She knew herself, and she knew that she needed to not go alone, and she called others into that leadership. Folks did come that day to watch what was happening. Journalists came to take their picture, People were watching, gathered around, police officers standing behind them in other photos that were taken. That day there were no incidents. It's a peaceful protest. Her action multiplied the next day when more than 18 people showed up at lunch counters to protest. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, mill hands were summoned to the city to gather around. Some caught carrying knives were arrested, although they were later acquitted by an all-white jury. Some fights did break out. But for the next 3 years, periodically, protest happened here in Spartanburg. People sitting down at lunch counters, demanding to be served, being harassed, being pressured, being ignored, because Myrtle Williams stepped forward beyond her father to lead the way. His model of leadership, calling her to leadership in a way that made him very uncomfortable, and her leadership calling forth other leaders who took the whole thing beyond what even she designed. This is the power of leaders building up other leaders, leader upon leader, until many people working together shift. It's a great temptation within many of us when that kind of moment arrives to clamp it down, to control it, to direct it. To his great credit, Julius Williams acknowledges this in himself, and his intention, his motivation, is really not terrible. He's concerned about the well-being of his daughter. But what you can see is, in this man, a leader who has built up a leader in his daughter, the shadow of that dominating leader also emerging. And that in the moment of discomfort or fear, wanting to assert and direct, to control. This shadow lives in all of us. I would call it today the shadow of patriarchy. And I think that we can easily reason where it comes from. When we have grown up in a society where we see men in particular assuming executive power and asserting their will over everyone else, and they are lauded as strong leaders for it. Not just one person in particular, but think of any president of any college that you've ever known, or the ideal CEO. The idea that we often hear perpetuated. Sometimes you've just got to take control and lead. When this is the model that we've been shown, even when we know that it's brittle and not best, it's in us. It lives there. And in the moment of stress and crisis, we may assert it. It happens even here. You better believe I feel it. When I see something going off the rails, there is a part of me that wants to say, everybody just sit down and shut up and listen to me. Guess who won't make it through that scenario? You laugh like you know. Yeah, my wife knows too, and she says, you better sit down and shut up. Yeah, that's a leader that I need to listen to. Yes, she is. Love her completely. It's a gift to my life to be balanced by her power. When the model that we have been given, even if it's a model that we reject, is of the executive who dominates, we just need to be aware that that shadow lives in us too. And that all the power that that seems to hold is insecurity and weakness. It's not powerful at all. except in the moment of true crisis. Far more powerful, the person who acknowledges the shadow but does not let it control them, and calls forth instead the strengths and power of those around them to work together as a team. Leaders with the humility and the confidence to build up other leaders, knowing that their vision will absolutely be lost. But the thriving of a diverse and equitable and inclusive team is assured. Let me give you an example from this congregation. A woman who watches this service most Sundays, who grew up in this congregation, gave me the eulogy from her mother's service from many years ago. Her mother's name is Willie Finley. She's one of the 5 founding members of this congregation, and one of the wonderful male but striving to not be patriarchal leaders of this congregation, Marion Tisdale, offered this eulogy at Willie Finley's Celebration of Life service years ago. Let me read the first part just so you have some context. See if any of this is familiar to you. Marion begins, Spartanburg, South Carolina was a very different community in 1953 and 54. These were the years of the McCarthy Committee, witch hunts, when people lost their jobs and were blacklisted just for speaking their minds. Thank God that's in the past. Cross burnings were held several times a year, and civil rights for black people was just a distant dream. The segregationist South did not provide much of a climate for the founding of a free-thinking, conscience-following Unitarian church. In such an unlikely atmosphere, it is hard to think of the kernel of Unitarianism being sown. When you first meet Willie Finley, it is hard to think of a nice, unassuming lady like she was, being a founding member of such a controversial group in 1953 and 54. Willie Finley was one of the 5 people that created what we are enjoying in this moment here today. When those Woolworth lunch counter sit-ins began, it was a problem, because sometimes the store owners would rope off the seats so that people couldn't sit there. Sometimes doors would be locked, or such crowds would gather that the restaurant might be filled and getting in would be difficult. Intimidation as a tool. So Willie Finley, this unassuming lady, but a person who wanted the thriving of us all, and to whom we owe this gathering today, volunteered to go in to the lunch counter, to sit down and take a place as a white woman, so that when black protesters showed up, she could give them her seat and the protest could happen. No ego, all risk, of vision, of diversity and equity and inclusion for us all. Build up leaders, and you will change this world.
Instead of asking you to join me on this, I'm going to ask you to please help me. I need a lot of help on this hymn. It's 1028 in your teal hymnal. Thank you.
As we extinguish our chalice, we reaffirm the purpose statement that our congregation, this congregation, created over 2 years of dialogue and discernment together. Please join me in reading it if you wish. We seek to create a world of mutual thriving for all beings, where everyone has enough and no one has to be afraid. Together, we strive to build this beloved community, growing in wisdom, care, justice, service, and wonder, open to all.
I want you just to imagine the experience for Julius Williams when the president of the Chamber of Commerce called him and said, people need to go to restaurants and eat. And when restaurants called him and said, no black people have come to eat here today, we want you to come. Not don't come, we want you to come. Imagine whether it was a mug of coffee or a cup of water or, Miss Spartanburg, is probably iced tea. Imagine the toast raised to his daughter, Myrtle. In religious and philosophical traditions around the world and through time, the image of the ideal life, of the realized life, of the beloved community, of heaven, is a people sitting down at table to eat together. Imagine the joy of that day in 1963. So much work still to do, but a banquet spread before them. And our fellowship hall and our Pathway to Membership class, both today, open the banquet table to us all again.